for taking your Sunday off to be with us here, to listen to a very important story by Mathias Heng about the invasion war. My name is Jamie, and I'll be your host for today. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Scallop, Expos, ABS, Golden Silk, and the GDA Collective for making this event possible. I would also like to acknowledge Tatiana from the Ukrainian Embassy here. And now we have Galina, the president of the Ukrainian Club in Singapore, say a few words.
Hi everyone, I'm Galina. I'm the president of the Ukrainian Club here in Singapore. I would like to greet all of you, and I would like to thank all of you for coming here. If all of you are here, it means that you care. So you came here because you care and you want to know more. And thank you also to the organizers, to our embassy, and to Mathias, who actually took a trouble, and it was a real trouble. And I tell you because I know about the things from the ground. He actually went back to Ukraine, to the ground, to see into the hot places, to see what is happening now in Ukraine. So just to tell you a little bit of the background of the Ukrainian community here in Singapore. We have about 450 to 500 Ukrainian people living here in Singapore. So these are different, there are professionals who are working here, there are people who settled here, they're married to locals, there are people who studied here, so there's a very diverse community. And I happen to be, at the moment, the president of the Ukrainian Club. So ever since the invasion of Russia in Ukraine started, which was 24th of February this year, it's been over 100 days. So believe me, we are counting in days, and it has been like one long day for us. We were saying that, 24th April is still going on. And it's been, apart from the military invasion, it's also a huge humanitarian crisis now in Ukraine. And we have about 7 million of people who fled Ukraine. They are refugees in different countries, neighboring countries. In Europe mostly, who are hosting them. It's Poland, Romania, and those bordering on Ukraine. We have about, I think about 17 million of internally displaced people. So if you look at it, it's about half of the country is disturbed. So the refugees this is the number of the people in Singapore around there. So if we think about the the gravity of the grief, the gravity of the problem, it's like if you take one country like Singapore, it's like you displace it also. That's going to be critical and really, really bad. So the war is still going on, and I'm always very careful with using the word war, because the war is technically when somebody is fighting with someone, but at the moment it's more like Russia has invaded Ukraine, and Russia is shooting everywhere, in all places, literally making sure that no place in Ukraine feels safe. So they wanted to take Ukraine in 3 days. The master plan was to take Ukraine. They thought that they would come, they will bring all their troops, they'll take over in 3 days, they take over the capital, and that will be it. But this is not how it turned out to be, because Ukrainians value their freedom, Ukrainians value democracy, they have the human values, the basic values for the value, the right to live, the right to be free, the right to have a free choice, what to do, how to do it. They didn't want anybody, the principle of might is right didn't work here, and it shouldn't work in the 21st century anymore. So that's why Ukraine is still fighting for values, fighting for democracy, fighting for basic rights of humans to live, to be, And the problem is still going on. And I will hand it over to Mathias. And I was in Ukraine last November, and it was already quite tense, because we had the information that the Russian troops are at the border, and it was quite tense, but it was still safe. But ever since I didn't go to Ukraine, ever since the conflict started here, ever since the invasion started, but Mathias actually took trouble, risking his life to go to the ground. And I pass it over to him to show all of us what is going on there at the moment, and it's still going on.
Thank you for being with Ukraine. And now I'd like to introduce my friend and my mentor, Mathias. Now, I've known Mathias for a very long time, I'd say over a decade. So when I first met him, it was when I was in school, actually. And he was sunburned, his skin was peeling off. And basically because he just came back from photographing the tsunami in Indonesia. So that was sort of my first impression of him. We kept in very close contact over the years, and he hasn't changed much. His shirt is still oversized. He still, adds bangles to his arms. So Mathias has spent his career visiting, photographing, and understanding conflicts around the world that most of us really can't comprehend. From conflicts of Iraq, Afghanistan, Papua New Guinea, and more recently, Ukraine. And his goal as a photojournalist really is not to capture images of war-torn or disaster areas, but to engage with people that are the real casualties of conflict. He brings his stories to life, basically. And when Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February, Mathias made his way into the country. A few days later from Paris via Poland, where he boarded a bus. And I remember very clearly sitting with my best friend, and we were watching the sort of a live stream or a video that he's captured where everyone from Ukraine was leaving, but he was going in. So we just shook our heads and yeah, here we go again. So the images and his first-hand account brings us a different perspective to what we're used to seeing on the evening news or reading on different news accounts. They're not right, they're not wrong, but they're real. And please join me in welcoming Mathias Heng.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Karina, for doing the opening speech. Before I start, I just want to find out, is everybody comfortable? Is it too cold? Is it too hot? Are you okay? Okay, if it's too cold, if it's too hot, I know you're sitting down, it might get a bit too cold, a bit too chilly, but when I'm talking, I'll be sweating up, So, just feel free. And is this talk on this presentation is going to be casual? When I say casual, if you feel like you take the time you want to speak, you want to ask questions, feel free. We have another microphone, so just feel free to put your hand up, and ask a question. Because sometimes you want to ask them, we wait until the end, we forget. So be spontaneous, yeah? Okay? Yes, Jamie was saying about what I do. I'm a photojournalist. I've been doing this all my life. Been shooting for 37 years. And I think those of you who know me, that you know a bit of my history. I was a commercial and fashion photographer before I became a photojournalist. So, of course, in those days there was no school of journalism. The first thing you were taught is commercial, fashion. So, of course, when you're young, you just go into it, and as you go along, you start to develop at a different level of your photography level. Then, for me, humanity is always on top of my list. Fashion was great. I really enjoyed lots of it. A lot of nightlife, drinks, and parties and things like that. But after a while, you just get tired of it. So I just want to do something more meaningful. So I pursue into documentary journalism, reportage work, and that's how I started. So anyway, can we have the lights off, please? Thank you. Is that all right? Yeah. Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February. I booked my flight on the 22nd of February. So many people told me, Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. But I took the risk and said, look, I'm going whether there's invasion or not. So I did, and of course the airline cancelled the flights. So I waited. On the 24th of February, Russia invaded Ukraine, so there was no possible way to fly into Kyiv. So what I did, I flew into Warsaw. So from Warsaw, I went by land. So I took the bus to Lviv. From Lviv, then I took a train to Kyiv. So at that time, it was chaotic. Everybody, a lot of Ukrainians were leaving, were evacuating. So for me, going in was much easier. But what I saw was the amount of traffic that they were coming in. Many of them waited just to cross the border. It took them 60 hours. Okay, and just to give you an idea, that's Poland. So I crossed the border from here. That's by land. Then from Lviv, I went to Kyiv by train. So that journey, when I first went into Kyiv, first thing, I arrived in the train station, you hear the siren, goes, all the time. And of course, this first time you hear it, it freaks you out. You just feel that, okay, the bomb is gonna land now. So it happens so often that people just got used to it, got immune to it. But then again, you really don't know where the bomb shell is gonna land. Okay. So from Kyiv, I traveled to Kharkiv. And that's where all the fighting is happening around here. Okay. So Kharkiv, now Kyiv is pretty safe. When I was there in February, Russians were in Kyiv. They were 25 kilometers from Kyiv. So the first month of February, it was really uptight, tensed. Nobody knew what was going to happen. President Zelensky was asking NATO to stop the air zone, no-fly zone, because we were afraid of the airstrikes. So if they flew their planes in, I think Ukraine would have collapsed. But thank goodness, Russians didn't use their planes. Yeah. So from Kyiv, then we went to Kharkiv, and that's where there's all the fighting is happening out there. Kharkiv, there were a lot of planes that flew in, and they used a lot of air missiles and hit a lot of government buildings. But in Kyiv was quite a distance. So in order to bomb Kyiv, it's coming from Belarus. So a lot of people that can't figure out how on earth, but they cannot shoot a missile from the border. It's too far away. So it's from Belarus. Yeah, so just give you an idea. Yeah. So so this the red area is all the Russian occupied now. Okay, so from Kharkiv to Izium, from here, Kharkiv to Izium, it's about 150 kilometers. Okay. And just for your information, this is not done on purpose. Today is the National Day of Russia, 12th of June. Yeah. So I didn't even know until we put the date and I saw, okay, it's the National Day of Russia here. Okay. This is important. So when I flew in, I went to the train station, bus station, and tried to get across the border almost immediately. I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to waste time. And these are the humanitarian Polish people and people from all over Europe coming down to Poland and giving help to Ukrainians coming into Poland. This is in the bus, so there are still people going in. So the bus was full. So I'm just on my way. this lady, she came back to look for her son, because when she left, she was in overseas. So her son and husband was left behind. So she lost touch with her husband. There was no communication during the invasion. So she went back to bring her son back, to bring out of Poland, out of Ukraine. So, and she lost touch with her good friend. Coincidentally, in the bus, it took us about 15 hours in the night until morning, and the traffic was so heavy, and we were caught in the traffic, and she found a friend. So when she found her friend, they were so emotional because they thought they would never see each other again. So this was one of my first shot inside Ukraine. So this is along my journey going into Lviv and Kyiv. This is in Poland. A lot of people were giving their homes for free accommodation. So they have a signed placard and saying that, if you want free accommodation, we'll put you up. And when I was in Lviv, all the civilians, they were netting camouflage nets. So they're using a lot of fabrics, all kinds of fabrics, and they were cutting them and they were tying them. So they were doing this for the army, for the military. So they camouflage their tanks and even the trench. So as you can see, the fabric is all in random. There's no specific fabric for it. In the train, so I was in a carriage, so at times, whatever catches my eyes, I take a photo of it. So this was going into Kyiv. I was in Kyiv, I was in a car. The tension was so high that you really don't know what to expect. All of a sudden you get a row of ambulances driving in really high speed in convoy. They just drove past us at least about 30 ambulances. Yeah. This is one of the first buildings that got hit during the invasion. Got hit during, I think it was on 24th of February. Then as time went by, things got really even worse, that people didn't know what to do, didn't know what to expect. Everybody was nervous. That includes the military, the police, the civilians. So this was 11 at night. They were having briefing. So we had some information that we were getting, the Russians are coming in. So they were having briefing, and everybody was a bit nervous, and so I was there, took the shot, and there you go, they're having briefing. So there again is their first war, in the sense that first invasion war. Russia had a war in 2014 in Crimea, but this is like a bigger scale. So all these people, practically a lot of them, these were the police, but a lot of civilians, the territorial defense, when they joined the force, they had no military experience at all. So they were, IT, or they lawyers. I even know a doctor, she became a sniper. So people from all walks of lives trying to defend the country. So I was just trying to capture that moment. As you can see from the faces here, people really don't know what to expect. And another thing as well, in February we ran out of armor vests. So we were shortage of armor vests. So many of them, even the police or the army, didn't even have armor vests on them. And so what's worse, even like journalists didn't have it. I didn't have it as well. A couple of days until someone supplied me an armor vest. Bombing happened practically every day in Kyiv. So the shelling is in random. You don't really know when and where they're going to hit. So you just got to be careful enough. You know, it's just got to be right place. You know, if you're wrong place, wrong time, then you get hit. You're gone. You know, I know a journalist. You know, she stayed in an apartment and got shelled. She got killed. So as you can see all this here, sometimes we look at all this here, sometimes we think, oh, this is due to bombing. It's actually not due to bombing, go back. Like this, yeah. Okay, this, all got hit, but that is due to the sound wave. So if a shell lands, say about 1 or 2 kilometers away, the sound wave is so loud it breaks everything. So this glass is enough to kill you. So that's why sometimes when we go to the front line, we're in the car, we don't wear our armor vest, but we put our armor vest on the window over it, and we wind it up. So if there's a shell, something that blasts into us, the armor vest will protect us. So as you go along, when you're there, you pick up things pretty quick, how to survive. Unfortunately, one person got killed. This building got bombed, got shelled, and every time when buildings get shelled, we usually have the investigators who come in and investigate the whole premises before they open up to journalists. Of course, you have the police there, they won't allow you in. So, but as you know, most journalists, they try to go in. That goes for me as well. So, because we want to show what's happening, evidence. So many Ukrainians, when they evacuate or when they leave the country, they only take, just a bag with them, or sometimes it's just a small bag. They just don't have time to take all their belongings. Yeah. So this person is waiting for transport. So transportation is one of the big problems out there, because a lot of cars were damaged, were destroyed. In fact, for myself as well, I couldn't even get a car to move around. So every time I have to try to get someone to take me around, or even to hire a car is so difficult. And at times to hire a car, people make money out of war. I remember that I wanted to get a fixer with a driver just for a day. He was charging me $300 US. So it's all the debris, and in war, life still goes on. People still do their own business and doing things. So then again, I was saying, if there's an explosion, you get a lot of debris. You get even stones, rocks, or flying all in the air. So you have to go low Getting shot by a bullet is one thing, but getting hit by shrapnel or bricks and things like that, that's enough to kill you. I don't know whether you saw the news a few weeks ago, a French journalist stepped into a mine. Usually a mine doesn't kill you, it's just to cripple you. Unfortunately, he got killed because the shrapnel went through his neck. So as you can see, a lot of times damaged buildings like that, you think that nobody's going to live there, but you'd be surprised that, sometimes in such a damaged building, you find people still living there. Like this man, he was trying to fix his window, his balcony window, so he was still staying there. So there was no access through the main door. So what they do here, they use a ladder and climb. He lived in the second floor, so he could do that. So he was just trying to pick his belongings. He could try to salvage whatever he could. That's him. So that's him. That's his apartment, and then he got whatever he had. He was just sitting down, looking lost, and didn't know where to go. Unfortunately, I didn't really understand what he was saying because he was speaking Ukrainian. I got my interpreter to help me out. So he was saying that he lost his home, didn't know where to go. And before I show more photos, I'd just like to remind all of you all that a few of my photos are quite confrontational. It can be quite disturbing. Can be a bit not very nice pictures, but I will show it anyway because I'm not mainstream media, so I would like to show what's happening, the inside of Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine. This was in a train station, so during the evacuation, there were lots of people sleeping in the train and trying to leave Kyiv, so trying to go to the border, trying to go to Poland. So that was in a train, and the train, whenever the train goes to Lviv, people rush. You don't pay, the train ride is a free service, and people just rush. So it's pretty sad, and sad in the sense that what really saddens me is many of the loved ones, family leaving their husbands, their boyfriends, because all the men are not they're not allowed to leave the country. So I could see from the faces like they might not see them again. Like this photo, a mother and a child waving goodbye. She's waving goodbye to her husband, and he's waving goodbye to his father. So that's what's like in the train station. Everybody's just waiting, looking at a signboard, when's the next train. So in times of such situation, train is never on time. There's always a delay because of shelling. So I saw this lots of it, everywhere. I'm sure you've seen it in the media. A lot of photographers taking photos of people kissing goodbye. So this is a mother saying goodbye to his son. And in February, we ran out a lot of things, like we ran out of sleeping bags, and it was winter. So these guys, they're volunteers, so they try to get us as many sleeping bags as they can to provide to the army and the police. This is a guy here living in a train station. So he was waiting to fight, waiting to get his rifle. So in Ukraine, initially, the beginning, everybody got a rifle, but as time went by, they controlled it. So you go in stages, in different waves. You got first wave, second wave, third, fourth, so all depends on your list. So he's just waiting to get his rifle and learn how to shoot. That's the one of the apartments that I stayed. But that is the underground shelter. The reason why I took that picture when I first moved in Kyiv, I had a few families staying in the apartment. And after a few days, and I realized that I was the only soul living there. Everyone left evacuated. Because where I was staying, even the owner didn't want to stay there. Because when he gave me his house key, he did tell me that he lived near government offices, buildings, and that's where most places have been targeted. So I felt it. I felt the tension, and I left the apartment. So I stayed in the bunker. So this was in the bunker. That was in the bunker as well. In the bunker where I was staying, I was staying about 200 people in the bunker. And it was cold. There was no heating, no shower, no hot water at the time. So everybody slept with their winter clothes. So again, every day in Kyiv in February, in the month of February, there's shelling almost everywhere. But it's not frequent, like non-stop. So how the shelling works is the Russian will shell about 2 or 3 times, and then they stop, and then they might do it at night. So it's more of a technique way of doing it just to wear people down, try to wear Ukrainians down. That's a bunker. That's where I live. And this is the bunker as well. People help each other in cooking. Okay, there's a big door there. Yeah, it's a double door. So when it's bombing, they close both doors. It's a really front-locked door here. Children are traumatized by the bombing. So many of the kids there, when I was there for 2 months, many of them refused to go out. This is one of the days that it was in winter, and we had a nice sunny day. So we were in the bunker, and these people took the opportunity and to have a nice sun out. So I think that was nice. That's how they live. in the bunker, so they use a lot of these crates, use as baits. There is one of the engine room in the bunker. As you can see, there are a lot of pipes there going on. This is one of the buildings that I managed to get in. So usually after bombing, after shelling, the police wouldn't allow Germans to get in. I managed to get in, so I followed this guy, went to his apartment, and he showed me the damage of it. So this is the opposite building. It was not hit by shelling, but it's because, again, it's due to the sound wave. It breaks all the windows. This was in the evening. We were on our way back, and we had news that one of the factory there was bombed. So we went in there. So when I went to this factory, we were told that they had ammo inside. That's why Russian bombed the factory, but it was not. It was actually food. It was a food factory. So, I took this picture just wanted to show the devastation and the smoke, fill up the whole sky whenever there's a bomb. This was in the police station. They were given lots of rifles because of they were controlling. They were not giving out rifles that freely in the initial. So now they were controlling it. This is the sandbag whereby they all were prepared, preparing for the worst. Gut posts in a war conflict area. There are lots of gut posts, so you get stopped all the time. So this is one of the gut posts. And there's in Kyiv, in one of the residential area. So, you hardly see anyone walking. So, you'd be lucky to see someone walking on the street. It's another gut post. I find this quite interesting because of the piano. So there was still a bit of humor in it. So these guys, they were doing hedgehog. So it's to prevent the tanks from coming in. So they're welding, cutting metal. So these will block the tanks coming in. I think it doesn't help, but it will slow them down. And this is the making of a Molotov cocktail. So I was in this lab. It wasn't actually a lab, it was an underground club, and they were mixing it up. So again, with all this, everything was done on a very, how should I say, confidential or more of a secret way. It's like a resistance fighters doing things. Because they will not allow anybody in because they're afraid of Russian spies. There are a lot of Russian spies around. So until they really know who you are, they trust you, they give you access to get it. So you get men, women doing teamwork. So what she was doing, she was tearing the piece of cloth. And so in this styrofoam, they mix it, they put it in the bottle. So by doing that, when they burned and they throw the Molotov cocktail, this will hold the fire, the flame. It burns longer. And of course, you put petrol inside. This is the army they were preparing. So again, you're loading the magazines. I took this photo. It's nothing special, but what caught my eye, this guy is a foreign fighter, a Scottish guy, 70 years old. So he came to Ukraine to fight. You get women fighters as well. But I don't know how she fights, but she's got two little nails. She's got long nails, you know, long hair, and I don't know, so anyway. But I really admire them, their determination. So in Kyiv, in the city, you get a lot of territorial defense, army patrolling. So you have curfew, and if you pass a curfew time, if you're driving on the road, they have the right to shoot you. Because they really don't know, thinking that you're an enemy. These are the different army waiting, just waiting for an order to go to the front line. So this is in the front line. When I went to this place, the front line, I didn't expect, because in the afternoon, you know, I met the commander, and the commander was in Kyiv, and he told me that, yep, you can go to the front line. And he said, you can go today, this afternoon, we're going in, we're going to fight. So we drove, it took us about 2 hours to drive it. So when we got in there, then only then I realized there's no turning back. When I say no turning back, yeah, I'm not gonna stay there for a day, you know, and come back. It's gonna be a couple of days. So I stayed with them. So that's a road, and out there you have to cross the bridge, and above there, that's where they're fighting. So these guys were preparing. Okay, like I said, you know, we get a woman fighter. She's been fighting since 2014 in Crimea. And the rest of all army guys. He's from Belarus, foreign fighter. So when this happens, if you have never experienced it, it can be scary, because you know they're gonna fight. They drop their rifle, they're ready to fire anytime. In the position, and this was on the roadside. So I see on the roadside. So these are the guard posts. They are about 4 kilometers from the Russians. So this guy is always ready to fire. And any car that comes, they stop, and you get a group of them, at least about a dozen of army guys, you know, pointing at the driver. So, you know, if the enemy, they shoot. This is back to base. When I say back to base, they live in holes. And he was loading his rounds, machine gun. Up there, again, there's where the Russians are. Same here. So we get a sniper always on his scope, looking whether he can spot any enemy. This wall, this is our only wall that protects us. So if you go beyond that wall, you will be shot. Because there's snipers watching us. So if you walk up from there, you become a target. So there's no possible way we could cross there. All we could do is go to the corner, use a scope, look at it, and even it's clear, we can cross. They were on patrol. Same, again, looking for enemies. And we have tanks, Ukrainian tank in a position. This was in near, I think. When I got there, we went there, and this guy, he chased all journalists out because the Russians are flying drones. So when they fly drones, they see a location, they start to shell. So, but I stayed behind, and surprisingly, he took me on the bike. But he put me in a situation whereby I'm on my own. He just dropped me there, and he told me, 5 minutes. You take your photos, you go in, you come out. I was like, 5 minutes, it's how far for me to walk and to run. So, but he just gave me a time frame. So I got my shot, out I go. So again, the tension was so high, people are so nervous, sometimes you really don't know how to react, because when I was taking this picture, 1 minute it was okay, another minute it was like telling me, no photo. So in such situation, people are very edgy. So as a photographer, you got to be careful. You got to know when's good time, when's the right time to take a photo. But he tried to stop me, but I took the shot anyway. So. There again, see, so when they stop people, they check. This guy is there's always another person on alert, just in case. So you get a lot of spot checks everywhere. Even myself, I get checked all the time. Even I have a Ukrainian accreditation issued by the Ukrainian Armed Forces. I still get stopped, checked. Two of my friends, one is a British guy, he's a filmmaker, and one's a Ukrainian photographer. They got stopped, and they were blindfolded. They put a hood in them, and they blindfold them, and then they brought them to a location, and they start questioning them. So even if you have a press accreditation, people are very suspicious, because as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of Russian spies, sent out to take photos, and then they get, I don't know how much you get paid, I heard it's not much, and then they send to Russia and show them the location. So because of that, everybody's a suspect. He was not in the army, he was just, before the invasion, the war, he was working as an IT guy. and he started picking up arms, and he's got ammo all around his body, and so while he's driving. And that's what happens, when you are in the front line. So this is a very common scene, in the war. A lot of places get destroyed, get bombed, and there was the petrol kiosks. That's how long the queue, the traffic. To get through, it would take us about at least 2 hours. Then you get the military, they're walking and they check everybody. When I was with the army, it was easy because we could just go through, we just cut across. But if you're on a civilian car, you get stopped all the time. And this is the evacuation. Residents from Butcher and Epping. So many of them, it took them like days just to cross to get to safe haven. It was cold, it was winter, it wasn't comfortable at all. So they have a sort of midpoint whereby the Ukrainians stop, and then they will go to different directions. So this was like a middle point of exit, and of course they get a lot of help with food, because when they arrive they're hungry, they're thirsty, they don't eat, they have not been eating for days. So they get help from them, from volunteers. And again, although they are residents, but everyone that comes down from the bus will be checked by police and military. So you need to carry IDs. If you got no ID, you're in trouble. And if you pull aside, you'll be questioned. So you need ID no matter what. So the only identification was they have a card, ID card, or their passport. Ukrainians love their pets. They don't leave their pets behind. So when I was there, I witnessed so many of them, they take their dogs, their cats, with them. Like this lady here, she took a cat, she didn't have a cat basket, so she just wrapped a cat around her. Many times it gets very emotional, even if you're a photographer or you're a journalist, whatever. Sometimes you want to get emotional, but it gets to you because people come to you, they don't even know you, and they start hugging you. I don't understand the language, and they were just speaking either Russian or Ukrainian, and hugging you real tight and cry, So it gets very emotional. And it gets very draining after a while. Even like you can see, this police guy, when I saw him, he was trying to comfort this lady, he was actually tearing. And of course you get Orthodox priests, is that the right name? Call it? Yeah. Comforting residents, because a lot of the residents, a lot of the civilians cannot understand why they've been targeted. you know, and why? How can the military, Russians, do such a thing to them? Because they said they're innocent, they have no arms, you know, they just live normal life. So you cannot understand. This is a volunteer giving out bread to I don't know what you call them, refugees or displaced people. I rather use them as residents. Sounds nicer. There again, as you can see, all of them, they always check them, check for IDs, they check their vehicles. So even the police, they help the family, to look after the kids. Yeah. So everybody is working, and they put in more than 100% of what you're supposed to do. They work long hours, and even the police or people are trying to get to a safer place. Everybody was exhausted. Yeah. And this is the bridge whereby this is from Epping. Out there's Epping, and here is the bridge. This was destroyed by Ukrainian army. They did it because they didn't want the Russian to come in. If they come in by the tanks, then we're in trouble. So in order to deter them, stop them from coming in, the tanks from coming in, they destroyed the bridge. So evacuation took place right here. So again, when you witness humanitarian evacuation, you see again all walks of lives, young, old, the sick. I took this through a glass because there's no possible way for me to take from the other angle, so I took from that angle. So they were transporting this person into the van. And she is just waiting to be transported, to be carried across the bridge. So that's what happens. So it's damaged, so we have to cross from here. So this is all makeshift bridge. This one they were transporting a person, and what caught my eye, that's a pram here with a baby. Yeah. You see this all the time, all the bullet shots. Same, every lady is waiting in a wheelchair, waiting to be transported to cross the bridge. They walk. Many of them walk just to get over the bridge. Because once you get over the bridge, you're safe. The other Ukrainians are. Because in Bucha and Irpin, the Russians were there. So, and that's how it looks like under the bridge here. So he is just waiting to be carried, to be transported. So. Unfortunately, some of them didn't survive. So they're carrying a dead body. So as you can see from their faces, many of them were in a very stressed situation. Even they were getting to, once they crossed out after the bridge, yeah, more or less safe. But again, the trauma that they went through. So I can imagine, what's it like, being traumatized. And this makeshift wooden bridge was not stable at all. When you walk, it sort of wobbles. And while this was happening, out there on the other direction, there was fighting going on. So you can hear bomb shells, artillery shells. See a stop there? So all the bombing, the fighting was taking place. So we are about, from here, we are about 9 kilometers, 10 kilometers away. So which means if they're firing from there, they can still target at us. So in fact, a filmmaker was shot during the evacuation just further up. Was shot by a sniper. Shot a snake. So this is a different angle. So there were a lot of volunteers, army, police, health workers, medical people helping. But then again, it was still not enough because it was just overwhelmed by the amount of civilians evacuating. And the challenge was a lot of elderly people. It was very difficult to transport them over. The balancing was not good, it was slow, like you say, on walking stick. So you have to be careful on transport. Like this person's been carried by a stretcher. And these people walk from Iping, from Bucha to cross the border. So along this road, all the cars were damaged. So from where I was right here, I could hear shelling going on. I happened to be there, I was just standing and having a break, it was like a bit wear out, so I just stood there, and out of a sudden this military guy and that's his wife, they was departing, they were saying goodbye, so I took a shot, and it was quite emotional because he told me that, his wife is going to Poland, and he's saying that, he don't know whether he will see her again, because at the time the tension was really, really high. I've seen Ukrainian soldiers being killed in the front line, and sometimes you don't know whether they come back. So every time they go out there, it's a 50-50 chances of survival. This is another group of troops that I went, the specialists. They are snipers, and they shoot tanks down. They use the weapon in-law missile. So with an in-law missile, if you get it right, one hit, the tank blows. So they got this from UK and Germany. So they work in small groups. So we're going to the front line. So what we do, we'll drive to a forest, and then we have to walk to enemy front line. And that's what we did. So the moment that you start walking, they start giving you, what's the word? You know, when you get hurt, you start to bleed, you tie yourself. I can't remember the name of it. You know, to block, to prevent you from bleeding. And they'll just give to you, take this, you might need it. You know, so you know it's you don't really survive. Yeah. He's a sniper, so he's got a Kalashnikov, he's got a sniper rifle there. Okay, so we were walking to enemy front line. And that's what happens. We were very close, as you can see. There's all the bombing going on. And, oops, sorry. So while we were here, then a lot of artillery firing. So what we did, we sort of hid one of the houses behind. So I'm just going to show you. I happened to record on my camera, which I didn't even. I thought I was going to take a picture, but I was accidentally filming it. So this is what happens. So there you go. Now it's not flying. So, well, this was, we were supposed to go in, but because of heavy shelling, we cannot go in because these guys are specialists and snipers and they shoot tanks down. So our position is to go close. So we were waiting for the shell to stop, then we go in. But so we took cover in one of the houses. Just as that was happening, we were sitting down and we heard drone was flying above us. We could not see the drone, but we could hear the buzzing, whizzing sound, you know, zzz, so we knew it, drone, you know. So the minute the drone flew off, they started shelling at our direction. So they were looking for locations, they were looking for us. So of course we took cover, we went from position to position. And that's the end law that hits a tank in one go. So again, in the front line, you know, we always have this thought of us, oh, front line, you know, it's open space, but these are all residential areas that became front line. But the thing is, the front line, many, I wouldn't say many, but there are Ukrainians that refuse to leave their homes. They say, no, I'm not going, this is my home, I will stay here, I will die here. So I met a couple of times, you know, they stay behind. And this is a place where we took cover as well. And of course, you know, in the midst of fighting, you get different battalions running, shooting. And we taking a break. Sometimes, you know, that's the thing about war, you know. You face a lot of fighting and come to a point where sometimes you don't even feel it, you know, you just take a break. And it's strange because you can more or less read the pattern of the way the fighting goes, you know. And you say, no, they're not going to fire now, we have a break. So it seems like they know how the way it works. So we're just sitting down and talking and having a break, and that's when the drone flew over us. And this is what happened, you know. Again, because I was running and I accidentally pressed on my video button. This was scary because this one we were targeted. This was an open land, so we were trying to get back to base, whereby safe for us. So it was an open land. They were just firing. So the closest the shell landed was 80 meters from us. So at that time I thought, chances of living was very slim, but you just kept running. So every time the shell lands on you, automatically you just fall. It's like you feel the impact and you just down you go. But we made it. Yeah. And that's how it looks like when the shell lands on it. You get a big hole. So if it lands on you, then you'll be scattered into pieces. No way of survival. So again, this is a war zone area. A lot of fighting. A lot of civilians were killed. So I think the next picture is quite confrontational. Not this one, okay. A lot of, bullet holes, fighting going on, as you can see all the cars here. This one. Okay, this civilian been killed by shrapnel. As you can see, his body, his shoulder here. Shrapnel landed on him, tore apart completely. His body was left for days. Yeah. And that area here was a church. Yeah. And was there for days, and they could not claim his body because if you go out, if Russians spot you, snipers, they will shoot you. So many of them were left behind. And this, when they were shelling, heavy smoke, it was burned around here, big fire. And this civilian just came running to us because, the Ukrainian army was around here. And he just kept running and kept shouting, I'm a resident, don't shoot. Yeah. Because in such situation, you really don't know. So the best option is to put your hands up, But again, different, like this, when this happened, the guy that was with the sniper guy, he told me, this is good. Okay, they cannot spot us because they can't fly the drones. So when this heavy smoke was happening, we could walk free because they could not fly the drones, they can't spot us. So we could escape easier that way. So I was saying, many residents that refused to leave in the conflict area. This lady, she lived there. And right in her house, in the midst of fighting. See here, conflict area. So this was in Bucha. Again, the way they work in technical way of working. Like this guy, he was just going to recce the place whether it was safe to go over on the other side. So one soldier will check, and once it's clear, we go. So they prepare themselves, they have ammo all around. This area is a no-go zone at that time. The minute you step up, you will be shot. No-go zone at all. It's impossible to even cross the road. So both sides are watching each other. So they don't fight all the time, but just keep an eye on each other. Until the opportunity rises, then they fight. Or they think that they can destroy them, they fire. Same here. So I was here, I couldn't even stick my head out. It's too risky. I just pull my camera out and let's take a photo. Not even looking at it. Because it's not worth being shot for that photo. Yeah. Mines are everywhere. So these are anti-tank mines. So what they do, they store them, all these mines, huge, it's so many of them. And just in front here, there's like a big gate. So if a tank bash through, everything blows. So if you're not aware of mine, if you step on it, then, you know. But these guys are so brave, they can walk in between the mines. You can see, look at his foot. They're just walking in between. I was nervous, man. I didn't even want to walk that way. I walked the bigger, longer way. Then, of course, this armor vest, even the armor vest it's not 100% that you save your life. So, a lot of Ukrainians army died in this area. This is a Ukrainian Su-25 fighter jet got shot down. The pilot survived. He jumped. So landed on the forest. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they call him the Ghost Fighter. He shot so many Russian planes down, and his nickname was the Ghost Fighter. I think, if I'm not wrong. Either him or could be another pilot. So this was our bounce for the press. So the SBU, they are like CIA, their intelligence intel. They took me in and showed me. So initially it was all tree trunks, and when the plane crashed, it just cleared everything. This is in the garage. This is Russian. They left all your food behind. Russian camouflage. They after a while you get used to what's Russian, what's Ukrainian, because the camouflage different design. A lot of unexploded missile. So again, you don't touch them because you really don't know they are explosive. This is all the Russian ration food. I took a photo of this because that caught my eye. Surprisingly, they're still using books to write. So one of the Ukrainian army sort of wrote, he read and then did a translation for me. He's saying that the troop, whoever's writing, is writing a report to his officer. So I don't know whether it's the right information he gave me or not, but because I don't understand Russian. These are Russian tanks, all destroyed by Ukrainians. This is all the ammo. Again, all these you don't touch them because you really don't know what's there. So it's all out in the forest. This is inside the tank. I went in and I just wanted to have a look what's inside. But after I went in, then the army guy sort of, he couldn't find me. So when I came out, I said, "What? You shouldn't go in, because you really don't know what's inside, It's, they could put a bomb, when you step on it, you might explode." So, but sometimes you just want to get a shot. Just want to see what's inside. So, again, unexploded missile. There's all the Russian ammo. Same here, yeah. Is the anti-tank carrier inside of it. And this is what caught my eye, all the shots of the holes of rounds, and someone wrote, "But you only live once," which is true. Yeah. Same, another unexploded missile. Russians stayed in houses when they left Kiev. Many things were left behind. But all this bread you can't eat them because it's like days, weeks old. Just to give you an idea of the living condition, how they lived, the Russians, when they moved in. This is in Kharkiv. This was the council building. This was struck by a missile. So the Russians flew their planes into Kharkiv and started shooting. They didn't fly their planes into Kiev to shoot, but they flew past Kiev. But in Kharkiv, they flew and they did an attack. Oops. So this is one of the buildings as well been badly damaged. So inside the building, that's the university. This, I was told, was bombed by an aircraft, was by a bomber. And I was saying that, many people when I was in Kiev, a lot of restaurants were closed, roads were empty, it was like a ghost town. But it's inside the cafes, the restaurants, people are working actually. People are cooking for the army, the police, and that's what they were doing. They were feeding them, make sure they have good food, make sure they are fed well. So this guy, his name is Dennis, he transported food to the front line. This is in the underground station they use as shelter, so people live there. They live in a train carriage as well. Not all the stations, they have train carriages. And you get volunteers going in to do grooming for people. They do their nails, they have haircuts, just to be human. Yeah. So that is in the train station, and then sometimes they can't go out, so they just sit around in front of the train. See what I'm saying? They do haircuts and things like that. So this guy, he himself lives underground. And he's not a barber or hairstylist, you know. He just took it up and started cutting people's hair. You know? He did ask me whether I want a haircut. I tell him thank you very much. Maybe next time when I come back. He said, I'm good. You know, I do design haircut. I said, thanks. Yeah. That's how they live, in the carriage. Any questions? Anybody like to ask any questions before I move on, or do you want to ask after? If not, then I'll just move on. Can we get a mic, please? Can we have an extra microphone, please? Thank you. Because I can be talking and talking and talking. Yes. So, is it? Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry.
Earlier you did mention that quite a number of apartments or buildings, Russian areas, are destroyed by bombs, and they still continue staying in that apartments. So I wonder whether they still get water and power to live there.
Depends. If the building is being shelled, then there's no water. But if the building is still intact, yes, we still get water. The good thing about in Ukraine, I know myself, people are really surprised. Internet service is really good. I did a live interview by using my mobile network, data network. It works perfect. I had water, I had electricity, but I didn't have hot water. So of course, if the building is being bombed, all depends which part of it is being damaged. So if it's being damaged on, say, the water tank, of course it's no water at all. Yeah. Anyone? Jim? That's it.
Where you saw the Russians had left and the tanks and all that was there and had gone in there, but those unexploded missiles, were they Ukrainian? Missiles?
No, Russian.
They were Russian missiles that hadn't exploded.
Yeah, because Russian missile will land towards Ukrainian side. See, so those missiles that landed, not used, so when they fire, it's sort of misfire. So mostly are Russians. Yeah. I think, okay.
Mathias, thank you for your insights. You're really wonderful. Just wondering, it's been established long ago that the Russians have outnumbered the Ukrainians. In your opinion, why do you think the Russians are taking such a long time to invade Ukraine?
Okay. Yes, that's the question that many people ask, many people wonder. It's quite simple. The Russians, before they invade Ukraine, they were told that this is going to be a special operation. So, and then when they invaded Ukraine, many of the troops took this as a special operation, not as a war. That's one. Number two is, a lot of them, the Russians, from what I know, they said, it's a special operation, this is not my war, I'm just going in as a special operation. But the Ukrainians, they fought with their heart and soul. It's their country. They're willing to die. And a lot of Russian troops, they were young troops, they were like 19, 20 years old. So what the Ukrainians did, they were targeting not the young troops, they were targeting their generals, their officers, the top generals, that giving the troops what to do. So if they kill them, they knock them out, then the young soldiers wouldn't know what to do. And that's when they wipe them out. So that's how they were working in that way. So they were targeting on the generals, the top men. So like I said, and a lot of them, when they got into Kyiv, they were exhausted because they ran out of food, they ran out of gas, they were tired, so they had no motivation. So because of that, a lot of them just gave up, And the sad, it's really sad, regardless whether you're Russian, Ukrainian, I know in the US, no soldier is to be left behind, dead or alive. But we saw so many Russian troops on the road, not being, bodies not being brought back. And the body's been there for weeks, decomposed, and bodies bloated, and just left behind. And another thing that I found out is, because it's not a full-fledged war, Russia didn't declare this is war. So a Russian soldier can say, I don't want to fight. He's got every right to say that, and he can walk out. So that was one of the reasons, I think it was, they were given false information of saying that, this is special operation. And then when you're in there, then you realize that, no, this is serious, man. Yeah. Anybody? Jane?
Mathias, you went in voluntarily, you didn't belong to a news agency or a stringer. How does your life as an independent compare with, say, one of the large agencies that are posting as a member of a team and with a security detail? What's the kind of advantage for you and disadvantage?
Advantage is, as an independent, I can do whatever topic I want to pick. Compared to big agencies, because they're supported by, they stay in 5-star hotels, they get drivers, they get fixers and whatnot. That's the advantage for them. The disadvantage for them is sometimes they're given instruction what to take, what to report. For me, the advantage is I can do whatever story I want to do. I want to go really deep story, whereby the mainstream media is not what wants to do it. I will do it. Disadvantage, I'm broke. Because I have to pay everything on my own. So which means I got to really be careful what I spend on, because I don't know whether I will sell my work as an independent. So pluses and minuses. Pluses and minuses. Yeah. Anybody before I move?
Mathias, you say that the males cannot leave, only the ladies and the children can leave, and secondly, on the ground, the people fighting the war, do they think they can win?
Ukrainian, yes, they are very determined and very positive attitude, and yes, they will win the war. Provided, that's what they say, provided the world helps them with weapons. So now they're not even asking for overseas military to come in. They say, we need weapons, give us weapons, we'll fight. So that's what they're asking. So, because a lot, as I was mentioning earlier, is their country. Imagine if Singapore was invaded, would you fight for Singapore? Or you walk away and say, sorry, my life, So it's different now. It's just like, not just Singapore, if someone comes into your house and say, hey, Roger, your home is my home now, out you go. What do? You'll fight, you fend for yourself. So the Ukrainians, they were fighting for the country. And the good thing is the president did not leave. When I said didn't leave, President Zelensky, he was offered, US offered him to evacuate, even in UK, but he refused. If he did that, Ukraine would have collapsed, definitely, because there's no leader. So because of him, I think, because this my perception, the way I look at it, he was a driving force that kept the people going as well. Yeah. So, okay, I will move on. So again, yeah, so this living conditions, how they live, very basic. And living in a train carriage is just not one person, one carriage. One carriage with about 10 people. I met this guy from Uganda. He's been in Ukraine for 10 years. So he could not leave, so he ended up staying there. Staying with the Ukrainians. This is in the underground shelter, one of the houses, or rather apartments. So this was in Kharkiv. So Kharkiv was still fighting at the time. So residents were living there. So you find more women and men staying in the bomb shelter. And even this is not a proper bomb shelter. It's just an underground. Oops. I keep pressing the wrong button. This lady, she's on a wheelchair. She can't walk. So I asked people who were staying with her, how does she go to the toilet? How does she do wash herself up? So apparently her daughter comes. The daughter doesn't stay in the same building, stay in another building. Goes there every day and dress her. So I feel sorry for her because she was there, like, all day just sitting down, could not move. Just needed someone to assist her. There's a husband and wife in one room, small little room. This guy, that was his apartment. He showed me his apartment. His apartment was destroyed, not livable, but he could still go in there. So just going, showed me, and he was talking, and so I saw the shot. It was a good, good expression shot. I took a photo of that. So this was spring was coming, so people are more or less out there, taking a bit of breather. So it's nice to see that people are reading and trying to enjoy the outdoors, even in the midst of you don't know when the bomb shells are going to land. This is a rescue worker. And this was in one of the apartments. You're fixing the windows. So the building was destroyed, but as I was mentioned earlier, they tried to fix and still live there. So this was in Kharkiv. So Russian tank. Is that a bad word?
No.
Okay. Right, I think I took one thing is some bad words, some swearing and whatnot. Okay. This is a Russian helicopter being shot down. Seeing a lot of destroyed Russian tanks here. So in the midst of when the Russian left, this is the luggage. And with all this military stuff, and everything was just to the ground. These were the Ukrainian fighters preparing to go to the front line. So sometimes you think you go to the front line, you think, wow, okay, I'm going to face fighting, whatnot, you get anxiety, your adrenaline goes up, But it's a lot of waiting game, a lot of waiting period, sometimes it doesn't happen at all. But when it happens, it goes fraction of a second, it's quick, So when we're driving, you do encounter a lot of things, and you feel the tension. Russian helicopter. That's where the Russians were staying. See here is shot by a Ukrainian tank. Okay, this is a Russian soldier. I was saying, was left behind. We could not go any closer. They were told us not, please don't go too close because, anything can happen, might explode because sometimes they put mines, they put traps. So that even the Ukrainians do not lift their bodies up because if you lift up, it could be a grenade or whatever. Or trigger it. That's his home. So he was just trying to clear. And he was just trying to live wherever they want, For them, it's nothing like home. So they rather stay in their home if they can. So you do get a lot of military looking around and see what's happening. This was the, don't know whether you heard it from the news there, in Odessa. The naval ship came in and the captain saying that, they came to this island and told us, the sailors, give up or you'll be killed. And then one of the sailors, one of the Ukrainian army told him, F you, Russia, and that became a big slogan of it, it became so popular, and they made a stamp out of it. So when Kyiv was much more stable, they made a stamp. The queue was unbelievable. It was such a long queue. People were rushing to buy it. It becomes a collector's item now. Apparently now, even on eBay, it was going for €1,000. Yeah. Children, again, I feel very much for civilians, because many of them suffer from, they've been traumatized, so I don't know whether it's the right way, PTSD or acute shock, like I went to this shelter, a kid, this boy, he had a toy gun, immediately pointed at my forehead. And his mother immediately sort of pushed his hand away and said, no, don't do that. And he spoke in Ukraine, but my interpreter sort of translated for me. And they don't go out because they're so frightened of the sound of the bombing, But at that time it was already safe, but they still refused to go out. So how do you put it infectious? It's very difficult when someone's suffering from PTSD or being traumatized. This is the graveyard vehicle whereby all the damaged vehicle is being stored there. Same here. Mass grave, and then the cemetery was just piling up every day. So if you go to the cemetery, every hour, you get piles of for burial. Even animals, I can't believe it. Even animals go crazy, I was lucky when I took this shot because I was walking this was in Yiping. I was walking and all of a sudden this cat followed me. I was like, oh, that's a nice cat. And I know it belongs to someone. There's no street animals, no street dogs or cats there. And as I kept walking, the cat kept following me. So I went on the 5-foot way there. I just squat down. The cat went close to me and wanted me to pet her or him, Then I realized the two dogs coming. So the cat was using me as a protector. So as soon as I did that, this dog came right for the cat, and there's another dog there. And the dog just went crazy. Yeah. Then I realized, oh, this cat is clever, right? Then we went for that. Then the dog wanted to go for me. I just put my hand, and the dog ran. And this dog was going for it. And then when the two dogs disappeared, she followed me, or he followed me for like 5-7 steps. She disappeared. So, okay, well, thank you very much. You protected me. Yeah. Okay. No dead holes, everywhere. So again, all the destroyed buildings, shell. She was traumatized even after the Russian attacks. So she brought me to where she lived, and she started, telling about what the Russians did. I mean, the Russians didn't torture her, didn't abuse her, but she was so traumatized that she started crying. Even when we went out, she couldn't stop. This guy, he lived in the underground, and it's one of those like you see in the movies. It's got the backyard grass, and you open up, and it's like everything's inside. So yeah, that's where he lived. This is in Bucha, so you hardly see anybody there during the conflict. Saying this was bombed. This was 2 buildings divided into 2. I'm just gonna go quick here. Funny thing is that an abandoned building, you find a lot of birds. Right? So every time when you just go there and you see the birds all start flying. Yeah, so I find it was quite interesting. This is just to show you what it's like inside. So this all was heavy bombardment. But even then, because all these are still standing here, but it's not safe to still stand beneath there because all this can collapse any time. There's a sign there, mines.
Be careful, mines.
Yep. Yeah, people, you find 1 or 2 people still staying around the area. So this is how it looks like, yeah. So sometimes I just observe, when there's bombs is destroyed here, it just smashed through everything. It's sort of formed like a pattern. So this gives me an idea. If anything happens, so you either go to your right or to your left to avoid it. But it's just my imagination sometimes. It's survival. Yeah. Many of them were killed and they were buried in the backyard and front yard. This was the interrogation room. The Russian used it as an interrogation room, torture. So there's the blood stains. That's in the mortuary. In lots of coffins. There's only the exhumed body, all the body bags. These are volunteers from the US. They had mass graves, so they bring all the body to the morgue and then they do a forensic test. See, that's the container whereby they put bodies inside. So sometimes they don't finish on time, they just leave it to the next day. It's one of the staff working, having a break. So this is all the body bags. This is in Ping, the cemetery. I think that's a repeat. Sometimes, it's an unmarked grave, you just put a photo. When you see this, it's not good. Because the person cannot be identified. It's really disfigured. That's why they put body bags here. Sorry, body bags, not bags. Yeah. He survived. He got shot. got hit by shrapnel and then later was shot on his leg. What he did, he crawled. And his friends pulled him to the house, so he was saved. This is exhuming of a body. That's his wife. And that is not even a relation, he's a caretaker. There's the people that are so caring, doesn't matter who you are. And in fact, he was the one who dig the grave of him. What am I doing? See, so that is the funeral parlor. So they take the coffin, and they want to get the body, they just put them there, ready for burial. This is another one, exhumation. That's the grandson. The story of this guy, pretty sad, because they run away from Crimea, and now the war comes back to them. So he lost all his mom, his dad. The only one that was still with him was his grandmother. So his grandma died not because of shelling or being shot. She died because of the sound of the bomb. She had a heart attack. And when she collapsed, there was no medical at all. She died in her home. So he's the, so goes on his own. This is a lady in Bucha, Russians came, destroyed, ruined everything, and she just, she was explaining to me, and she just, put up her hand and she went a bit frantic. This was in Kyiv. That's where one of the journalists got killed. That's where she was staying. You see this all the time, everywhere, bullet shots everywhere. This is in Kyiv, in one of the suburbs. It was not reported. Russian planes flew over, bombed the place. And this girl, the family was trying to escape. Did he make it? They got bombed. All of them died. Just a repeat. Okay, this is residents are going back to Kyiv. And Russians put out, more people are going back to Kyiv. This was in a train. Every now and then you get alert, the train will stop, and they make an announcement, everybody duck down because there's going to be shelling. So this is quite an experience, quite scary, because when you're in there, you don't even know, because you become a main target, because you can't run, you're in a carriage. So you just have to pray that you don't get hit. So, but luckily we were not hit. So, see, people just duck down. And this is going from Lviv to take the bus to Poland, the border. And this is Kyiv. Ukrainians, they were protecting their monuments, covering it, preventing for severe, more damaged. And this is the beautiful spring in Kyiv. And all this war going on, but not all the places are destroyed. So a lot of us think that, there's a war everywhere is destroyed. It's not. Yeah. But it's a beautiful place. You should go. Yeah, when you have the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mathias, for the talk. And now I would open the floor to questions, but perhaps before that, I'll ask you one myself.
Yeah.
You've covered many conflicts, Iraq, Afghanistan, Papua New Guinea? Like, how is this different from all the conflicts that we've covered before?
It's a different war. The reason why it's a different war is they use technology in a lot of artillery firing, whereas in Iraq it was combat fighting, in airplanes, Apaches flying. So you hear a lot of planes. But in Ukraine, you don't hear planes flying. You only hear shelling. So when you hear shelling, firing, I'm not worried. But when you hear a shell, it goes boom. Then you know it's coming from that side. But you hear a big bang sound, then you know that Ukraine are firing. So you learn really quick, and everything's on drone. So they've got two different types of drone. One is location drone, and one is bomb drone. So once they locate you, they can release like a mini bomb. That's what I'm afraid of. Yeah. And of course, snipers. And I've never seen so many snipers. Everybody's buying sniper rifles. So, yeah.
Any questions from anyone?
Mathias, you're known as a very loyal and distinguished Leica user. To what extent have Leica supported your very brave, lifelong and committed work with them? I haven't heard you mention Leica today.
Yeah, Leica has been supporting me since 1998 to 2006. Then they came to, I think, a new system whereby they don't sponsor photographers, they loan cameras. However, Leica has been pretty good in the sense that, to me, they still support me, but not supporting cameras. So, but of course, if I can get a camera from Leica, it'd be much appreciated. I can work the camera even harder. Yeah. But I'm still using Leica no matter what, because I believe in the product. It's not to me, it's not a luxurious brand. It's what the performance of the equipment can do. So when I went to Ukraine, many people ask me, how many cameras do you bring? I usually carry three camera bodies. This time I only carried one camera body. I didn't even bother carrying spare lenses, because I know it's going to be very difficult for me to move around. So I only took one lens, and believe it or not, I don't even know where I put my 24 and my 50 lens. I don't know where is it now. I think I must have lost it. So because I was just so focused, I just take one, and I know I can rely on it. I just carry many batteries, memory cards. And the camera didn't feel me. Yeah, and I dropped it so many times, but I thought I dropped my camera many times, but I didn't. Because I got armor vest, my armor vest is level 4 vest, so it's really thick. So every time you swing and it hits your vest, and you hear that big loud sound, I said, oh, so I'm bugged, I must have broke it. But again, yeah.
Advertised Clarence, thank you for sharing with us these photos as an hobbyist photographer. I think there are quite a few of us here who knew you from Leica Academy. Great to see these first-hand experience of yours of the Ukrainian conflict. I just want to understand from a photographer point of view, what drives you to risk your life heading into Kiev just right when the war was starting, right? And because I think it shapes how you capture these images, whether you are trying to show the plight of the Ukrainian people in this conflict, or are you showing the Russians as aggressors, right? So can you share with us how that shapes the images that you capture?
what drives me is all about humanity, because whether it's Russian or Ukrainian, because the one that suffers most are the civilians, people. And of course, I can't stop the war, but at least being out there and showing the work, I'm not biased. I don't take sides. I've got good Russian friends. Yeah. So what I do is I want to portray to what I witnessed as what it was. So I don't manipulate my work. And again, like as saying, what drives me is humanity. I know it's risking my life, but it's what I do best. I wish I could sell cars, and enjoy life, but I get bored to death if I did that, So I suppose it's a calling. It's just like a doctor or a teacher. To me, to be a teacher is a calling, or to be a doctor is a calling, That someone even risk their life. Because we just got to bear in mind, we don't live here forever. So for me, I grew up in quite a rough environment, and I saw what it was. So I just want to make a better world.
Thanks so much, Mathias, for your work. When I decided to come here to meet you, to see your work, my main driver was truth. For me, this war and the way it was reported is being really special because it gave me the opportunity to feel the impact of propaganda. It is a really complex problem, the truth, right? I was hoping to come here and learn from somebody who was on the field. What is the truth? I'm Italian, I've been living in Singapore for 15 years. I do not follow much the Singaporean news, but I follow my own country's news.
Yeah.
And one of the talk shows that we have in Italy is showing that drastic contrast in narrative from the Russian side and the Ukrainian side. As a European, as an Italian, I feel like hugging our brothers. But it really is striking. What is the truth?
Well, the truth is, both sides, of course, would want to show on their side that they're better. Okay? So unfortunately, mainstream media always show the most dramatic side of it. It's like, okay, for instance, one portion is being bombed, and they only show that portion. But bear in mind, in Ukraine, when Ukraine was invaded, Kyiv was affected, Kharkiv, Donbass area, eastern side, but not Lviv. Lviv only got bombed once. So if someone said, Lviv, I'm terrified, it's been bombing, so it's exaggerated. So again, sometimes we just got to look deeper into that. So, it's just like, typical example, if you go to South Africa, okay, you don't go to Hillbrow, because Hillbrow is one of the most notorious area. Yeah, if you go to a tourist area, you're quite safe. See what I'm saying? So of course, now you go to Ukraine, you go to Kyiv, you say, Kyiv is war going up now. Kyiv is like Orchard Road now. Things are coming back to normal because the Russians have pulled out. So now they are targeting on Donbass area. Of course, it'd be nice if they stop the war. But what I'm saying is a lot of it is just being blown out of proportion in the sense that they just want to make it dramatic and they want to make it hot news. But of course, Ukrainians are suffering. But we have to look deeper in the bigger picture. That's why when I'm doing this here, look, my last shot was beautiful Ukraine, was not touched or was not destroyed. But the places that I went, of course, it was damaged. But to me, is we have to look into a deeper picture and sometimes, unfortunately, mainstream media, they like to exaggerate. Just like Russian news, I would like to go to Mariupol. I can't. I got a Russian photographer, he wrote to me, we are covering the same news. I said, great, you're from Russia? Can you bring me into Mariupol? No news. Because they were not allowing him because there is another propaganda news. The propaganda news that, Russians are helping Ukrainians, saving their lives, but I would like to go in and witness for myself and capture the way it was. Because I know a lot of it is manipulated.
Hi, so the question for you is, how do you manage, who funds your career? Like when you travel and do studio photography, how do you manage your expenses?
I do my own funding. I'm independent. I'm freelancer. I wish I get funded by companies and big companies, but I am very, very fortunate. I sell my work to newspapers, independent newspapers, and I get independent people that sponsors me. When I say independent, people who don't even want to be mentioned. I said here, I'm sending, like when my band was in Ukraine, I didn't even know that people send into my bank account. I'm not talking hundreds, I'm talking thousands. They said, look, you need to help yourself, you need to do whatever you can to get the news out, because I'm independent. And I want to show into a deeper, in-depth, not just surface, which is very difficult to break through because it takes a lot of time, trust, for people to trust you in what you do and let you in. But all the shots in the wall, in the front line, without trust, they will not allow me in because no media will allow. So a lot of shots I took, I was the only photographer there when I took the photo. So again, it's trust you. So you got to believe in what you do and do your research. So again, it's my own funding. Even like this show, I'm not making money. It's knowledge. I want to pass my knowledge. Knowledge is power. And the more people know about it, the better it is. Whether you come out of the door and say, it's not shit, or you talk, great, it doesn't matter. As long I show evidence, it's not manipulated, no Photoshop, no cropping, the way you see what I saw. You show us the way it was. Yes.
Mathias, thank you very much for this presentation and for sharing your experience. I wanted to ask you, you've been in Ukraine like a few months, so you have had some feelings and emotions, and when you came here also you do preserve and keep some feelings. How would you characterize your state, your emotion, which is the most vivid in 2 words, what you feel?
I feel world peace. That's what I want to, do, and happiness for everybody out there. I met so many Ukrainians. We are very lucky here, all of us, But in Ukraine, although I call it's not a full-fledged war, because when I say it, not full-fledged war, if you say a full-fledged war, which means the whole country is at war, like Iraq. But this, like even people in Kyiv, they live in very uncertain, because they don't know when the bomb is going to land. And because of that, they don't feel secure at all. So my whole main goal, of course, I lost a friend there. I only got to know him when I was there. I was in the front line with him. Okay, and recently I heard that the old wind that was in Kharkiv, I was supposed to be there, but I left on the day. And on the day, the car got shelled, 2 of them, 2 cars, and all of them got hit. one died. All of them in hospital now, they're still in hospital, one in critical condition. So I'm still in touch with them. I feel for them. You know, sometimes I just thought, I wish I was there, you know, capture images and show people what's happening, because picture tells 1,000 words. And if a photo can make people think and stop and perhaps do something, act on it, then I know I send my message across.
There was a lot of international volunteers that went over the border into Ukraine. Did you see many of those on the front line or around the areas as well? And also, how well organised or how accepting was the Ukrainian military with those people, and how were they controlled? You were aware that I went to the border as well too, and I saw crazies going over the border.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yes, the Ukrainians were very appreciative that overseas volunteers went into Ukraine to help in all sense of the word: military, medical, supplies. They were very appreciative. Yeah. But on the other hand, okay, this is what I saw. There are also volunteers that went in. It's more for self-glory. So they just want to say, "Oh, I've been to Ukraine, I've been helping," you know, and they just put on Instagram and keep doing their selfie and you know. So they're doing it more for themselves. I saw the other side of it. So in every situation, you do get this sort of people, all kinds of people. There are people who are really genuine. I got a friend, he's South African, he lives in the UK for more than 10 years, he's a medic and also a sniper. He's been there for now 2 months, he's in the front line, you know, and when he came, he drove his vehicle, he gave his vehicle away, and then he joined one of the forces. He joined the St. Michael Archangel, and someone donated a van. He converted a van to an ambulance with his own money. But on the other hand, I met people coming from overseas. They did nothing. So, you know, in every part of it, you know, you do meet all kinds of people in this world. You cannot control them. Okay.
And we have one final question from this gentleman here.
Thanks, Mathias. Very inspiring. Being a Singaporean like you.
I was.
I was.
I'm a traitor.
No.
Singapore government, you know, yeah.
It's very inspiring.
Born in Singapore, so I'm still there. I still got my roots. Yeah. Yep, sorry. Yeah.
For a person that just came back and spent so many days in Ukraine, you look fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Can you recommend me your hairstylist? So, no, on a serious note, I just want to, I'm very curious. Every day I watch news on Ukraine. I'm very sad for the civilians. I say, how do they live and how do you live day to day? I mean, in Singapore, when the government going to announce a lockdown, toilet paper is all gone. Yeah. So the basic essential, how do the people survive? Yourself, how do you survive?
I survive on day to day. You know, I have like one meal a day. And Ukraine is very helpful. Like I was saying, you know, in the cafes, restaurants, is all blocked, fully blocked. You think there's nobody there, but people are in there. Once you get connection, they feed you. So there were occasions where I was in Kyiv, I was in an apartment, had nothing, you know, and this guy said, "Look, we'll bring food for you." So they literally brought food for me, bread and milk and things like that. So I survived from that. And when I get the opportunity, supermarkets still open. So, but most shops are closed. The big supermarkets are open, so you can get food there. So I used to buy bread and whatnot. So sometimes I stock them, but not realizing it. Sometimes you stock it for too long, you know. So I did a few, you know, I ate a few rotten bread, like I said, for a couple of days, and you know I was so hungry. I just took the bread and I just started eating. Then I realized that my bread was full of fungus. You know, that's life, you know. Then Ukrainian, they the Ukrainian food borscht. So they give me that all the time, borscht, and because it's hot soup and you put potatoes and things like that. So I survive on that. And of course, water. But water, sometimes, you just, when you're out in the field, you only get one bottle, and that will not last you. So chances of falling sick is quite high. So at one stage, I was not well. I lost my voice, and it was quite difficult to recover. But yeah, survive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What time is it?
It's the last one.
Okay. Yeah. I'm very excited.
All right, thank you, Mathias, for your very inspiring talk. And once again, thank you to all the sponsors for making this event happen. Thank you all for coming, and have a lovely afternoon, rest of the afternoon.
One more thing before we wrap up. This photos is not for me. Without those people that helped me, I would not got all those photos. So credit goes to them. Credit goes to all the people who helped me, with no expectation. So I am really thankful. And of course, thank you all for coming to show your interest. So once again, have a lovely day and enjoy your Sunday. Thank you.
I'll text you before I go. Okay.
Well done. Thank you. So good. How long are you ready for?
15. Thanks. Great.
15. I will for your visitors. We're on it. Yes. Very much. Very exciting for us.
Yeah.
Very emotional. Thank you so much for your work.
See you, bro.
Yeah.
I'll see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks again,
Thanks.
I actually had a question I didn't get to ask. So a lot of the photos that you took are very graphic, very unflinching.
Yeah.
But how do you draw the line between that and say like photojournalism?
You just got to push emotions away. Because once you get affected, it's hard to perform.
No, because we see some people who profit off things like that. How do you as a photojournalist draw that balance?
You just got to be genuine about it. What you do, some people just do it for money. Just, okay, we have to survive. Yes, but a lot of them say, I'm only doing it because I want to sell and make money. I want to tell a story. Of course, I need to survive, so I have to do some of my work. But I do it with no manipulation. Some of them they do it in a graphic way to set up to make it really dramatic. And I say, great, I can sell this photo, but it's a setup.
But and on another note, speaking about selling your photos, have you ever thought about, selling it to agency or watchers?
No, because they have got their own photographers.
Okay.
Whatever.
Right. Can we get a photo?
Sure.
Oh, that's way hard. Thanks again.
Thanks. Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. No, I got became Australian, so I cannot hold the whole citizenship. Yes, my visa. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we got to clear that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.